I'm Ethan Burke with Irongate Realtors. This is the Brick and Banter podcast. Today I have
Brenden Baker.
Brenden Baker. What do you do, Brenden?
So I'm in financial advising. I'm with Fortress Financial and Wealth Management, and just to say the least, in the work that you do, trying to spread insight and value in the present day, because as you know well enough, there's a lot going on in the world, and it's nice to have someone in your corner, and especially on the balance sheet, because there's a lot of tricky questions out there. So just trying to set as much insight and value as humanly possible in the present day.
Nice. So financial advisor, does that break down to basically helping people buy stocks?
Yeah, so that is one component. We do holistic planning for all of our clients, and it's one thing to say that, as a lot of people in the industry, they go about saying, we do full holistic planning. It's one thing to say it, but actually do it. We are very big on the living balance sheet. It is software and program that we use alongside for all of our clients, but it utilizes the protection overview. We look at assets, liabilities, and cash flow. But before you get to that, we are a fiduciary firm, so we have to get the full picture, full data gathering, so nothing slips between the cracks. As you know, with house underwriting, it's kind of our own form of underwriting, but we want to make sure the balance sheet is fully equipped. And when we do a protection overview, it's any of those potential threats are real to the balance sheet, and how do we best mitigate those? Review property and casualty insurance, estate planning, any of those outstanding insurance coverages. If there are any lapses, speak amongst the clients and make sure they have optimal protection, because we want to protect our todays for better tomorrows. And when you have a strong defense, that makes offense a whole lot easier and a whole lot stronger there.
So do you find insurance for people?
So I have the ability to, and whether that is individual income protection or even on the life front, and even with businesses, we set up group benefits for any of our business owners as well for their employees. We do have contacts throughout our agency with health insurance, so that is another sprinkle that we recently added. So really along everything on benefits, we have the ability to speak on.
So you take a look, I'm trying to break it down to like simpler terms.
Mm-hmm.
So you take the financial statements that people have right now, some of their debts or potential threats to it. I assume that would be like outstanding balances or credit cards and stuff.
So what we do, it's a confidential client questionnaire. And a lot of people hear that like, wow, that sounds very complex and scary. It's just a Word document that gets together it could be primary personal demographics, just background on the person, and then protection, assets, liabilities, and cash flow. And it's all broken down on that Word document and allows us to get the full picture of their present day balance sheet. And with that, it opens up in further conversations and dialogue. Goal setting is very big for all of our clients. On that questionnaire, it allows you to list any and all goals, and then anything that the clients in itself, single individual or family, want to make sure they speak about and get answered throughout the planning process. And with that, there can also be concerns. So anything that they list for concerns as well, want to make sure that we can best alleviate. But that is what our data gathering consists of. Want to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks, so we can draft a high fidelity plan with everything on the balance sheet in the present day.
So what's a typical goal?
Typical goal in mind with data collection?
A typical goal, you say they write down some of their own goals.
Yeah, so I tell people no goal is too far-fetched. Whether it's personal, professional, or financially, anything that a client were to list down, I want to do in my best power to help them achieve that goal. Whether it's getting them connected with someone within my network that can help achieve, whether it's a personal goal, I think that could be beneficial. I will bridge that gap. But throughout the ongoing months and years that we work alongside clients, we want to get the miraculous green check mark, and we check off that goal. So any and all goal, I say nothing is too far-fetched, but anything that's listed, I want to help any and all clients achieve.
Is it typically like I want to invest this much or save this much or have this much accumulating with the cash flow?
Yeah, so a lot of people on the financial front, I will build the foundation for people. I say just like a house, you got to cut out the slabs and build the foundation. But you can build a house however how you want. Same goes hand in hand with a financial plan. Once the foundation's set, there's no roof. A lot of people say I want certain amount at the year end or have a year's worth of savings built up, and that's all stuff that we build and accumulate for clients. But with those entry goals, they realize like, wow, I can not only achieve this but exceed this astronomically.
What are some different strategies if someone wants, say, like a lump sum, or if they want just passive cash flow?
So I will say there are in this day and age with social media running wild, day trading is just something that gets floated around.
Yeah.
And I say it in the simplest terms, it is the closest thing to gambling that you can do. We do not trade, we invest. Over an extended time horizon, over the past 100 years, through all the world wars, the conflicts throughout the U.S. and the all around world economy,
Yeah.
the market has averaged 9 to 10% over all that turmoil. So over an extended time horizon, it is in your favor, but we speak amongst with clients on the biggest thing is a risk tolerance profile. Before we speak on any investment strategies, we need to know first and foremost how they view investments because everyone's different. You could come in your early 20s, you could be a little bit more risk oriented. But when I speak to upcoming retirees, they have worked the past 30, 35 years and all the assets they have, want to stabilize and make sure that they can live the retirement they want and never think twice about potentially outliving their assets.
Yeah. So makes sense. And do you ever help anybody invest in real estate, or is it mainly like different stocks, ETFs, things like that?
So, and that comes into, so personal, I do plan to invest in real estate in my future, but that is why I like having these relationships and conversations with the real estate professionals themselves. As a common Joe, I know enough in real estate, but when it gets down to the nitty gritty, I am not the professional. I like to bridge that gap with clients on the real estate investment talking points with the professionals that do it on the daily. But I'll speak alongside with clients that are looking into real estate investing and kind of get the ball rolling on those talking points. We do look at the protection overview on that. If it's something they look into, we normally look into getting the foundation on standing up an LLC for those properties. We want to mitigate any risk from their personal balance sheet as if something were to happen with a tenant and they were to come after and try to sue you for liability, the only thing at risk is the property. The personal balance sheet is protected, but real estate investing has become a prevalent talking point, and I know first and foremost I see it for myself, but it's also something I don't know everything about, and I like to bridge that gap with real estate professionals alongside yourself.
Yeah, that's something I did with I got my first investment property last June. Super excited. That's been a big goal of mine
Yeah.
forever. I finally got one. I got tenants in it. It's going great. I put it in an LLC.
Yep.
Just like you said. So
Yep.
if somebody trips and falls, wants to sue me, they can only take the assets in the LLC. They
Yeah.
can't come after me and my house, my car.
Yeah.
That's just the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Have you personally helped anybody buy any investment properties yet?
So when it comes on that front, I am primarily bridging the gap with clients. When they say, I'm looking at this investment property, I first and foremost, I say, do you have a relationship with an agent previously or like whoever they bought their current house with? I always say, if they work with investors and opportunities there, get that ball rolling there. And if you have a lender, if they do, connect with them. And if not, I can always bridge that gap. But it's nice when I have the introduction and just kind of stay in the picture because then I can look at what a potential profit and loss on the property they're looking at is, looking at what potential rents could be going on that property and building it into the balance sheet. Because at the end of the day, it is a appreciating asset and I will never speak against appreciating assets.
Yeah.
And I also plan to be an investor myself in real estate. I say for all clients, we want to implement our dollars to be working for us each and every day.
Yeah.
You're going to have your track stars, you're going to have your slow cookers, and you're going to have your stability. I look at real estate, you can't look at it as a track star because if you look at it that way, in most cases, it could turn into a bigger problem down the road. But if you look at it as an asset that could be a slow cooker, it's going to be appreciating. And of course, tenants are its own conversation. But if you find some good tenants and you go through the process and you understand it, it can be a very lucrative mix of the balance sheet.
Have you come across anybody who wants to invest in anything kind of ridiculous? Someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I want to buy a bunch of NFTs and I want you to help me."
So when it comes to crypto, not really on that front. I've had people throw out the idea, and this goes on a larger picture of the large wealth transfer with the boomers. There are local businesses that people want to step away from, but they don't know how to step away and looking for suitors. With the businesses that we work with, we make sure that the life's work that they put into, when they step away, we have a business equity fact finder making sure that the true work and valuation of the business is properly replicated. A lot of people have come to me and it's like, I'm looking at buying an HVAC company from an elderly couple. It's been a family business for however, but I got introduced to them and they want to step away. And that has been essentially kind of a venture capitalist talking point.
Yeah.
People going out and buying established businesses that people want to step away from, but they just don't fully know how to.
That's pretty cool. So you actually go out and find not only the business, but you find somebody who wants to buy the business?
So it's been more of people coming to me, kind of throwing the idea out. I not necessarily have said, reach out to mom and pops, HVAC 123.
Yeah.
But it's been a conversation that's come about, and more people, especially just with the wealth transfer, people want to step away from the business and they might not have potential suitors. And if the opportunity presents itself and say a client or a partner of mine, we're talking about buying out, whether it be HVAC, plumbing, electrical,
Yeah.
locally area, that's an opportunity that can present itself.
That's pretty cool. How long have you been doing this?
So I guess I can jump into my life story. So I am 22.
So you've been doing this a long time.
To say, at least for looking at fractional basis, pretty much quarter of my life.
There you go.
But across my family, I've always been the old soul. I have always found myself hanging around older family members and with their friends and colleagues. And I've learned a lot from them, so it's been very beneficial. But I always joke, in my early life, as I know, I've got a lot to live, and there's a lot that I'm going to live through. But I've had my fair share of life. So born and raised throughout Beaver Creek. I went through Maine Elementary, Coy Middle School, Beaver Creek High School. So Beaver Creek's always been the stomping grounds for me. I took full advantage of College Credit Plus while I was in high school. So I tackled my first year of college in high school.
Nice.
So I was able to finish my 3-year my 4-year degree in 3 years.
Nice.
I stayed local for a year to continue working at Sinclair, as during that time I found myself at Moraine Country Club. And if anyone out there are heavily into golf, I cannot recommend Moraine Country Club more enough. It is an absolute blast to go out to, and you will not regret it. So shout out Moraine Country Club. Love everyone there. I have a very close relationship with the head pro, and he would put me to work, and I would never say anything against it because I loved all the members and the time I spent there. So I'll never take back the hours I put there. And he also kind of structured me to have a good work ethic. He said verbatim when I was heading out to UC and he knew I wasn't going to be there really much at all. He said, if I ever come back and I hear that you lost your work ethic, we're going to have a bad conversation. I said, you do not have to worry about that. You ingrained a good work ethic in me. So with that helped build my foundation into financial planning. And this is more on myself on a personal side. So I hustled and bustled, put about 80% of the money to my name, and I put it into the market when I turned 18.
Nice.
That also goes hand in hand with my dad being the biggest mentor to me. He's not exclusively in the financial industry, but he's been an investor for over 30 years. And he jokes with me. He says, you have it so easy now, because when I was your age, I would have to make trades on pagers and fax machines. I wouldn't find out until the trade till the following day. I'm like, well, I can't help that you were born 30 years. I was 30 years, well, I guess not 30, but the difference in time age between that front. But he helped solidify me how to get started and where to start. I started asking him questions left, right, and center, and he shared with me a great book. It was called Get Rich Carefully by Jim Cramer. And that was really the foundation block in me starting for myself. So all the questions and comments that I had accumulated, Put it into action when I turned 18. And then from there, just kept accumulating and contributing from that front. So been an active investor ever since I was 18, but really started getting the ball rolling when I was 16. And then from that, I knew I wanted to build a career in this industry, but then it was just finding the right firm and practice to really spread my wings and spread as much value and insights to the community in the present day. So throughout UC, plenty of internships and just trying to get my foot in the door and figuring out where I can build a practice for myself. I always wanted to be my own boss, so I already knew that in mind. It was just more finding a firm and a practice to where I could put myself in the client's shoes and know exactly that's how I'd want to go through a plan build. So upon graduation, had a return offer from previous firm and moved out from my previous living situation. I said, all right, I'm going to figure this out on my own. Going to figure out life. 2 living situations fell through, and prior return offer, it just wasn't the right fit. And I'm like, all right, well, so if this is what life is going to be like, I've got a long life ahead of me. So, and this is where it goes back to not being afraid to introduce yourself to any individual.
Yeah.
Reached out to a close friend of mine, essentially told him where I was at in the situation, said, I'd love to introduce myself to your advisor. Just kind of pick his brain and try to get myself in the right situation. I didn't think much of it then, but that introduction led to a future offer.
Nice.
And it was a leap of faith to say the least, but sometimes you got to trust your gut. And I was trusting my business partner as a person, and I was going to learn and accumulate the firm and the planning practice from that. So
Was that Fortress Financial?
that is Fortress Financial.
Nice.
So got contracted back in September of 2024, and to think that it's February of 2026, and now soon to be March. Time is flying by, but I tell people I love what I do each and every day, and when that's the case, you really don't work a day in your life.
That's true.
But the firm, the planning practice, having the full holistic approach, full data gathering, there's a lot of information that we go over for all of our clients. And for most of the time, and even in real estate as well, first-time home buyers, it's all new to them. They're all novice. So I love the idea that I get to spread as much information and value in the present day while building out their plan. And we bring that all together at the end of the road. We say where the rubber meets the road, and we turn the plan into action. And clients at that point, they've learned an abundance of information, but they're excited to get started. And every time I see that, it just adds more fuel to the fire for me to just keep preaching. So I definitely like to say I have found where I need to be, and I can spread my wings, and being able to do it in my hometown just makes it all much better.
Nice. Yeah, first-time home buyers are always my favorite people to work with, just because them coming in, having no idea how it works, and you being able to guide them through the whole process and just give them so much knowledge on how everything works.
Yeah.
You feel something from that. You're really, really helping that person.
Yeah.
Is that your favorite, like new people?
And, there are people that come to me that they have busted their tail throughout their career. They did everything they needed to do, but when it comes to retirement time, it's like, I understand I don't want to work, but it's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So you're going to get that full scale. And at the end of the day, to add value and insight, there are a lot of things that we can offer as a service. But the value and information that people can add and harness, and that just builds to the further relationship. I tell everyone that I work with, single individual, family, or business, they are all friends to me at the present day, because I want to be a resource in their corner, but also know that outside of the finances, if they need to reach out and something happened, it's a safe space at the end of the day. And I know the work that you and I do is just immense and very important. As a lot of people, financial plan is very big, and I know it's very important. And I think everyone deserves to have a plan, so that's one thing, but it's another thing to find the right person.
Yeah.
So that's where I always advocate. And then also with homeownership, the American dream, to say the least. A lot of people want to obtain that, but it's also finding the right person to help turn that into a reality.
Yeah, for real. It's it's really, really personal when you get involved with people and their finances, because that's literally their time.
Yep.
Their time is like their lifeblood. That's what they poured their heart and soul into. Most people don't like their jobs.
Yeah.
So they're
yeah.
going to work every day and
Yeah.
something that they really would rather not be doing. What's that saying? Time is money.
Yep. Time
Yeah.
is money.
People are pouring their heart and soul into a job that they probably don't like, and then they're trusting you with all of this money and all of this time and so much of their life, and they're expecting you to really take that and do something good with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just it's a good spot to be, that people trust you that much.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that.
That's where, the first thing that I always say is, when someone comes, whether it's from referral or open introduction, I'm there to have a conversation. I'm there to see what's on their mind, because first off, I don't render any advice, so I get the full picture. But the conversation is most of the time the biggest hurdle for people. It could be whether they are nervous on having the conversation or just not knowing where to go.
Yeah.
The first thing I do is hear out their thoughts or concerns, and then it goes straight into adding value and the trust building. That is my number one priority. Is at the end of the day, I'd want all clients and business partners of mine to look at me at the work that I can do, but also to say, Brenden is a good friend of mine.
How are you getting new clients so far?
So for me, it was the switch from the previous firm and contracting, in itself, you're just really on the sidelines.
Yeah.
It has been wholehearted introductions and outlooks, but because my base clientele now, they have seen the ropes and been through the planning process, it is now stemming into organic growth and referrals.
Oh, nice.
And we as a firm, we do not pay for marketing material. Of course, we have our Facebook and Google page. We try to stay up to date with that, and people leave nice reviews. But the work that we do is our marketing. Our clients, we take very good care of them, and they want to make sure that their friends and family are taken care of. And referrals are the way that I grow and the way that I want to grow. Organic growth is every referral goes a very long way, and I appreciate it at the end of the day. To get a referral from an existing client, I think that is probably the utmost greatest sign of respect, because they trust you enough to introduce them to their family and friends.
Yeah, same. That's exactly how I feel about it with the real estate business. It is definitely a snowball.
Yes.
You do a great job for one person, and they trust you enough to refer you to their friends and family, and it just keeps going from there. That's the greatest compliment they can give you.
The analogy is, and I tell, everyone goes through their first year. You're going to learn a lot. And I always say in the first year, learn as much as you can. If you make mistakes, you learn from it. But it's a whole lot easier to get it done the first year than year 3 and 5.
Yeah.
But we have a flywheel. In the first year, you're going to have to push it some yourself. But once you get through that first year, the flywheel starts to pick up on itself.
Yep.
Because you did the heavy lifting first and foremost, you built out a base, but then your base realizes the work and value that you can add, and then they start to do the spinning of the flywheel for you.
Yeah. Same thing with real estate. So that the initial purchase of that rental property is usually a pretty decent chunk of money.
Yeah.
Especially if you need to put any kind of work into the property, then you have to factor in all that and all the contractors, materials, and everything. Yeah. But then once it's set up and you get that passive income from the people who are living in it, you get that appreciation over time. You get the tax benefits from it.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
And that's another thing. So lots of my network in itself from past, with my uncle at the shooting club. I love those guys out there. CGG, shout out to those boys. They are real estate investors themselves, and I've learned a lot from them. And I have people that are clients of mine that are real estate investors. My business partner is a real estate investor. They joke with me all the time and they say, well, Brenden, we know you well enough that once you go through the process and you see the ropes, you're going to get an itch. And I hear that. I'm like, they're probably not wrong. But there's also a point where there's only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
And if I open up that door now, I will be opening up that door. But it gets to a point, it's like, I can't add another 4 hours in the day.
So you started investing at 18 was when you first bought your first stock.
Yep.
What was that first stock?
NVIDIA.
Nice. That's doing pretty well now.
Yeah.
Do you still have it?
I do.
Nice. How much has it gone up since then?
A good amount.
Yeah, I think I know that was one. I kind of learned investing the same way my dad taught me. He wasn't super into it. He didn't know like complex strategies or anything,
Yeah.
but he knew how to go online and buy stock.
Yeah.
And he taught me that, and I ended up doing pretty much the same thing. I don't remember what the first companies. I know I bought Tesla really early on, but then I didn't hang on to it. I sold it at a dumb time because I didn't know what I was doing. But that'd have been a nice one to hang on to. But yeah, Nvidia I know is doing really, really well.
Yeah, I always say, Jensen Wong, you are my hero, and keep doing your God sent work.
Are you guys using AI at all?
So AI in itself, there's more regulatory standpoints. There's compliance. We have AI that we can work through our network. Compliance approved. I know ChatGPT in itself, there are sometimes I'll try to construct an email and I'm just like, that just looks off.
Yeah.
And I'll give my template, give some insights. It's beneficial. So I do use that to pick its brain, but a lot of the work that we do is through us and our team. But I kind of use AI, and even through studying with my investment licensing, I will put a question in there and I'll have them highlight the explanation. I say them, the AI.
Yeah.
But it is a useful tool, especially just to kind of get another set of eyes on a potential question or comment. Because I know there are certain things that, and even with media posts, to say I could be the most creative, not presently.
Yeah.
It's nice to say, I want to say here's this prompt, and let it spit out a solution.
Yeah. Yeah, we are in industries where it's really hard to make advertising and marketing it also interesting.
Yes, yes, yes. It is nice to kind of throw in a prompt and then you look at it like, man, I could have never thought once about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was using it for a lot of like pictures to the end of like Instagram videos and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then like that was great. I just say like one of the guys I had on he was an MMA fighter. His fight name was the Bagel.
The
So
bagel.
it was just like make me a picture of a bagel with boxing gloves fighting something, and it just popped it right up there. I was like, great. I could never make that in MS Paint trying to figure out how
That
to
is
draw
funny. Yeah, I know recently there was I had a picture of it, but I never uploaded it. Just my unwillingness to stay active on social media, but how everyone had their like profile page, the blow up AI character,
Yeah.
like real estate and some background there. So I have it. It's in the archives, but I never posted it.
Never posted it.
I don't know. I did it. I'm like, oh, that looks cool, and I saved it, and I was like, oh, I never did it. And then before you realize it, everyone's posting on it. I'm like, you're not gonna be the one that's a week late to the party. So it's like, whatever's next, I'll hop on that opportunity.
I feel it. I've never been a fan of social media. I trained a guy who is just brand new. He got into real estate when I think he had just turned 18. He got his real estate license and wanted to hop in there. And I
Yeah.
showed him the ropes and showed him how to do a lot of stuff. Great dude. And I was having issues with my social media, and he was a bit younger than me. I was like asking him for advice on how to do it. And he was the one who told me to get into more of the educational aspect of it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's great.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to get on TikTok and sing and dance with a real estate sign. I want
Yeah.
to teach
Yeah.
people how to do things.
Yeah, I love the information value add. When I see posts on some real estate investing tidbits, it's 30 seconds, but if I can take some and learn from it, those are the posts that I see the most value in.
100%. Like I just posted one. It's like a 4-minute long video, and it's how to underwrite a property.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, boy.
underwrite an investment property. I
Oh,
tried to
wow.
condense it down as like little as I possibly could.
Yeah.
Because I know if I go online and I'm looking for a video and I see one that's 20 minutes long and I
Yeah.
see one that's like 5 minutes long, I'm clicking the 5-minute one.
Yeah.
Because I just want the information. I don't need the song and dance before and after that people do.
Yeah.
And that was a good video. I went into in depth on like some of the costs and just how to figure out how much it's making, how much you're going to make after the cost, and if it's a decent investment. And then if it's not, how to make it a good investment.
Yeah.
Because the creativity is it's all over the place with it.
Yeah. And that's why, social media in itself, it is, in my generation, it's just essentially a piece of our lives.
Yeah.
I try to steer away from it just because it can be a very dark place.
Yeah.
I look at social media in a lot of instances, it is the terminology of comparison is the thief of joy. That's where social media can come into play because, you see all these posts, like all these people are killing it. They're doing this and that and this and that. And you want to put yourself in their shoes and you're just comparing your life to them. And I just, at the end of the day, you got to find something that you truly enjoy and what gives you a purpose in life. Because I always say, you know, we get one swing at it. Make the most of it.
Yeah.
You know, don't compare yourself to someone that's across the country, posted on social media, and you have no idea what's going on behind the doors.
Yeah. Yeah, they could have a rented car they're standing in front of.
Yeah.
Everything's fake. You never know.
And then, you know, if you find joy in doing physical activity and you're like, I want to start a business, and it's like, you know, who's holding you from starting that gym?
Yeah.
Or who's holding you from being that personal trainer that travels across the country? No one is. It's just a lot of people, you know, just start it. And if you hit some road bumps, at least you're going to have fun doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a angle I wanted to take the podcast on, is grab people who have some like local businesses, especially something just small that they started up. Like I had somebody who started a gym.
Yeah.
I'm going to have another lady who started a gym, and just those people's stories are just amazing.
I say everybody's got a story. Every single person, and that goes on, you know, finances and self. Everybody's going to have their own plan, but everybody's got their own story to life. I know I've got a lot more to live, but it is so fun to sit down to someone and just hear their story on life, because you'll never run into someone where you're like, oh, wow, you lived exactly like this other person. You're going to learn so much about every individual just from a simple introduction.
Yeah, everybody's got their own unique experience. Even if they're identical twins, grew up in the same household, they still live different lives.
Yeah. So it's I always say, especially in the entrepreneurial mindset, the worst thing people could say is, I appreciate your time, but thank you. Sometimes you need to have an irrational confidence to yourself to make an introduction. Because at that point, when you get the introduction, you just speak amongst yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it goes back to the relationship and value add. You know, I want to help people. That is why I love what I do, but it's also on a networking scale. My buddies will know this well enough. Shout out Nick Puckett and Elio Wakeem. Nickname's The Connector. I want to connect people with individuals that could be beneficial to their business or their lives. I get an utmost joy in watching people connect and building their relationships with one another. And I know I can segment time, because having the ability to control your schedule is God sent, but it's a blessing and a curse. You know, you get the best you get the best and worst of both worlds, I guess, however you want to go about that. But I love networking. I love the aspect of it. Going back to, you're going to learn a lot of stories with individuals, but also I want to help people where I can help them. And if it's a referral to someone within my network, I'm by all means going to do that, because if you do good work, you do good work, and I want to make sure that your work can be cherished.
Yeah, that is one aspect of this job that I've always really, really liked, is because I work with lenders, estate planners, insurance people, home inspectors, just a giant slew of people. And it's always great to find people who are really, really good at it and passionate about it, and be able to refer them to people that are looking to buy a house.
Absolutely. I always say to all business owners at the end of the day, or even entrepreneurial, you know, even if you're making cookies, if you can be the glove for your clients to when they know they can reach out to you at any time of the day and saying, hey, I'm thinking about this real estate investment, you know, what are your thoughts? I'm like, I might not have the best answer for you, but go to Ethan. The lender front, I'll get you with the lender. Estate planners, I'll get you with the estate planner. The contractor, I'll get you with the contractor. You want to be the glove, because at the end of the day, you already have the relationship set with the client or even the business partner, but they're going to know they can go back to you. Yeah. And your name's going to stick more often than not.
Yeah, that point of contact.
Yes.
Just, if they have a question, I think it was a Henry Ford quote. It was, I might not know the answer to your question, but I know somebody who does.
Yeah,
regardless of what it is.
That's a great way of going about it. You know, I'm not gonna BS anyone and, you know, If I don't know the answer, I don't know the answer, and I will get you the right answer. But if it might take a second or I need to reach out to someone, I will do that because I'm not here to BS anyone and act like I know something that I might not know.
Yeah, it's about getting them the information they need from the person who's going to give them the right information.
And if that information that I share and get back to you, and they're like, well, that's exactly what I needed. It's like, where'd you get that from? It's like, well, I reached out to Ethan. I'm like, you want to talk to Ethan?
Same exact thing here, especially with like lending questions or financial planning questions. There's some things that I just don't know. I have an idea, but I need to get them over to the expert.
Yeah, that's exactly where it is. I'm not the expert. I surround myself with real estate professionals and I've learned a lot from them. But at the end of the day, I don't have the state and federal license. I cannot buy or sell you a home. So very simple terms. I am not able to do that. But can I get you connected with the right person? Absolutely.
Random thought. How do you feel about BlackRock buying a couple $1 billion worth of Bitcoin and starting an ETF?
So that in itself, I did because in our lines of work, you more often than not have to pay attention to political headlines.
Yeah.
There was some news about the limitation of private equity not being able to buy out single family homes. And, you hear that and I'm like, wow, that's very eye-opening. But, these large institutions in itself, asset money managers, at the end of the day, they've got a lot of power. Yeah. They have a lot of tangible assets. And if there can be some oversight on that, especially amongst, middle-class working Americans, and if it means dialing back, there are regulations on real estate property they can buy or even land. I think that's a huge win for the U.S. economy, but also for simple-minded working people. The American dream in itself. Of course, if you go back 30 years, our parents, even some grandparents, their interest rates of 13.5%.
Yeah.
But people hear that, it's like, well, we have favorable interest rates now, but, cost of living has skyrocketed. So you get the mix of both talking points. But what isn't accounted for in every instance, of course, cost of living has increased. But on the inflation report, everyone talks about consumer price index. Here's what gets baked into this. The one thing and the biggest thing that gets left out is lifestyle inflation. Going back to social media, comparison is the thief of joy. In this day and age, there's FOMO, the fear of missing out. And people feel as if they have to be included. And that can be looped into their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Sometimes you guys take a step back, take a look in the mirror and realize, if I put these simple steps forward today and I stay consistent, the lifestyle I'd want to live, maybe it's not immediate within my first 5 to 10 years throughout my working years. You can look at your 30s, 40s, and 50s and realize I took the right steps to build out for my future. Because we as a country with modern medicine, we are living longer. That is just a proven fact. But the lifestyle inflation could put us in a hole at an earlier age, and then we're just digging out of a hole. So then we realize we're getting towards our later working years, and it's like, well, man, I wish I had those opportunities at a younger age. But it's the lifestyle inflation is the biggest talking point, and most people would like to have someone in their corner to make sure that, should I look into this or should I not?
Yeah, a lot of people buying things they can't afford or signing up for subscriptions to things that they don't really need.
Yeah.
Going out to eat all of the time, every single day, has become just a normal thing for everybody. And that doubles or triples the cost of your just living expenses.
And I will say, even for myself, I know finance is my world. I am a simpleton at heart. I have a very, very, very strong mindset of if I don't have a use for it, I don't need it. I know with my house, when I have a nice, humble abode, make sure every room that I have can be lived on. And I also do want to make sure that I can be the hosting party for families, or at least for my family. So that's a big goal of mine. But I will splurge on travel. I want to travel the world, but knowing the simpleton mindset today can, down in the future, I know what I want to spend my money on.
Yeah.
And if it means taking a month-long trip to Japan and just exploring the entire country, yes, that is a bucket list item of mine.
Nice.
I can do that. But we have our priorities in life, and a priority is the simple approach now. I want to be comfortable in my living situation, but I also know in a bigger picture, here are the bigger goals that I have.
Yeah. I think that goal setting is something that a lot of people don't really have.
Yeah.
Or if they have it, they have some sort of weird, not really tangible thing. Like they might say, oh, I want to travel. But
Yeah.
they don't have any
Yeah.
concept of like, well, where are you going? How long are you planning on
Yeah.
being there? How much is that going to cost? What do you have to sacrifice from your normal life to be able to afford that?
Because then it goes into goal setting. I'll speak with clients and I'll look at their goals and I'll talk with them. Sometimes a goal needs a follow-up.
Yeah.
You can say a goal, it's like, I want to own an investment property. I'm like, is there a time horizon? Where would you want to invest? Would it want to be a potential vacation house? Sometimes in goal setting, you can have a goal, but not everyone's going to have the pinpoint goal.
Yeah.
Sometimes they need the follow-up to kind of get that, kind of push the narrative on, what they truly want.
Yeah. The more tangible you make it, the more of a reality it really becomes.
Absolutely. And I always say, when you're beginning with the end in mind, it makes goal setting a whole lot easier, because when you visualize the goal and you start actively planning towards it, it's in the back of your mind to start with.
Yeah.
So before you know it, that goal, you're going to be achieving it.
Look at like fitness and weight loss and kind of
Absolutely.
thing. Just because everybody can kind of relate to that. Everybody has some idea of how that works. The more
Yep.
you work out, the more fit you get,
Yep.
kind of thing. And if your goal is, I want to get in shape. Okay,
Yeah.
well, how do you plan
Yeah.
on doing that? But if
Yeah.
your goal is like, well, I want to lose this much, or I want to be this strong, I want to be able to lift this much, whatever, then you can actually start coming up with those tangible goals. Like, well, I want to get in the gym this often. I want to do some research on the best type and more, what's the word I'm looking for? More efficient type of weightlifting.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be translated the same thing to be financial.
Yeah.
If you're looking for passive income, there's a bunch of different ways to do that.
There are a ton of different ways, and then it comes down to pinpointing, and also finding something, if you enjoy something and you could make it a passive income, what's holding you back? Because sometimes you got to live life just a little free.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that you can get bottled up into, but when you just wake up and just release a little bit and you find something you really you thoroughly enjoy, and if you want to make a career out of it, go for it. In this life, the great gift that we have is that we're not confined to one certain thing.
Yeah.
We control all of our own destinies.
I've worked at places where just everybody had a bad attitude every day, and they'd worked there for 30 years. Like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
There's so many options. Like, maybe you're there for now. Obviously, you can't just quit. You need some kind of money to live on.
Yeah.
But start looking for something that, at the very least, is going to pay you more and be unhappy. Like, then you can take that money and put it somewhere and eventually do something you want to do.
Yeah.
But take time. Find something you actually enjoy doing, something you care about, something you're not just going in, drudging every single day, bringing everybody around you down.
My dad's a prime example of that. He's always, and going along back at the Marine Country Club with the head pro, but also my dad, they really solidified with me. It's like, you got to have a strong work ethic.
Yeah.
Because that is the foundation piece. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how gifted you are. If you don't have a work ethic, it's all for nothing. So I've seen a lot through him, but now he's always, his music taste, just to say the least, if you look at me and me at 54, that's my dad. We're like clones of one another. But he's always been into metal. And I knew something was going on behind the scenes. I'm like, what are these late phone calls? I'm like, what's going on here? He takes a trip out to Chino Hills, Arizona. And if you're like, where's Chino Hills, Arizona? It's exactly what you think. It's in the middle of nowhere. And next thing you know, I come back and he bought out a record label. So he's been doing that for the past 3 years, but he enjoys it. He's always listened to that music ever since he was a teenager. And he wanted to do that. So now he's doing it. And now he gets to travel, watch his bands, go to these festivals. And I told him, I said, for the record label, they have a festival every year for their bands, and they bring a lot of them in. And normally it's a weekend event. He had it in Austin, Texas this year, but he was kind of on the fence for doing it because it's like 14-hour days and 16. It's just a grog on him. And a lot of the bands are like, no, we got to do this again. But we got to go in California because a lot of the bands are within that area. So it'll be a larger venue. And I told him, I said, well, if you're going to do that, I'll go with you because I have yet to be to one of his concerts and kind of see what it's at. But, you know, he enjoys what he does, and I want to see him in his environment and, you know, help him out because, you know, 14 to 16-hour days, they can add up on you. And I said, you need an extra hand? I'll go with you. So in November, I'll be heading out to LA for the festival there.
That's cool. That'll be a fun bonding experience too.
Oh, I haven't, last time I was out in California, I was 2, but I can't remember that. I've been out into Vegas and Colorado, but haven't really been to California. So he's actually one of the bands that they're in Europe somewhere. I don't know fully, but they want to go sightseeing. So actually, we'll have the festival, but make a couple days out of it and go sightsee. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that's cool. And that's the dream. You get your finances to the point where you can take some of it and go just do something fun.
Yeah, it gives you the opportunity to, you get to a point where you make a decision. You work because you want to, not because you have to.
Yeah.
So then if it's with my dad and the record label, or if you start your own podcast, or if you're a card collector, you know, you do that because you genuinely enjoy it, not because you have to.
Yeah, that's the long-term goal.
Yep.
So what's the minimum amount somebody comes to you and says, hey, I want help planning a long-term future. I got $100. Can you help me?
So I always say, there are instances where I build the foundation. You know, me being 22 myself, I know the power to starting a plan at an early age. The greatest asset that younger people have is their age because you have time to compound on it. And compounding interest is one great tool. Yeah. So I will build out the foundation with people, and just like a house, you got to build out the foundation. You build it, and then you can build a house however how you want. Same goes with the financial plan. There's no roof, but you got to build the foundation first. So I'll have those open entry conversations and build the foundation, or, stabilizing a retirement plan, making sure that, the past 25, 30 years, a client has busted their tail, they can live the retirement that they want to and not have a worry in the world of the assets that they've built and accumulated ever running out.
That's pretty cool. So they can come to you and say, hey, I have no money at all. I just need you to help me get started and build that foundation. And you can take them under your wing and do that. I
will build the foundation, and this probably goes hand in hand with the work that you do, especially in this instance, could be a new home buyer. Yeah. I know the information value that I can add, but it also sometimes comes down to being coachable as well.
Yeah, I get that.
You've got to be able to hear it out and really understand, I will answer any question that you have, but at the end of the day, there has to be a form of coachability because I will do whatever is needed in your best interest. But at the end of the day, if someone could be getting in their own way or just rebutting, at the end of the day, I'm here to add value and insight, and people can always hear it out, but there is a form of coachability on that front.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Run into somebody, especially if they're new to it and they have some kind of predisposed ideas in their head of how it's supposed to work, and you tell them that's not how it works, and they want to just do whatever they want anyway. It's like, then why am I even here?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, for all of us, I say, time is money.
Yeah.
We want to optimize our time in the most efficient ways.
Yeah, you only get so much time.
That's in this world, it's the one thing that we wish we could get more of, but you can never get back.
Yep. There's a great meme that pops up on my feed every once in a while. There's like the 3 stages of life where you're young, kind of middle-aged, and then like old.
Yeah.
And when you're young, you have all the time and all the energy, but you have no money or resources.
Yep.
In the middle, you have no time, but you got money and you've got resources.
Yep.
And you've got the energy. And then when you're old, you don't have any energy, but you got all the resources and all the time.
Yeah.
It's just, that's how life works.
And that's, I even think, and why I always tell my good friends, like, extend me as a resource, because I will say in itself with the moving situations and after graduating from college, life was, it punched me in the mouth. That would not be an understatement. And it's nice to have lived through that because during that time, I was my worst enemy. And there is a lot that can go on in your brain that if you don't consolidate and get a grip on, it can eat you alive.
Yeah.
And I was in a pretty dark spot, to say the least. But your lifestyle is one. You got to do what you enjoy. And two, consistency. I live by the 3 Ps. Patience, persistency, positive mindset. Because in this day and age, it is very easy to be hard on yourself and dig yourself into a hole. But the problem is once you dig yourself into a hole, you stay in that hole.
Yeah.
And I always say, if you need a lending hand and, a resource, just a conversation, reach out. Because life's hard. It's nice to have people in your corner that'll hear it out.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I tell people, I can't live your life for you. I can give some insight to kind of help guide. But at the end of the day, find what you think is happy and just run with it. And every day, wake up. Patience, persistency, positive mindset. Live by the 3 Ps.
Yeah. I remember I was having a conversation with somebody. They were smoking. And I was telling them, hey, you should quit doing that. And then they were like trying to come up with reasons why not to. And I was saying, think about how much money you save just by not. For no other reason, think about that. That's like $5-10 a day that you're not spending on cigarettes. Think about how much you accumulate. In a year from now, you could have all this money. Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, I don't have it right now, so there's no point in doing that. I was like, that's like saying there's no point in me going to work today because it's not going to pay all my bills forever.
Yeah. There's a great quote. This goes with like retirement income. Every day you go without adding money to retirement, it charges reverse interest. That's money you'll need someday but won't have.
Yeah.
So even just those simple talking points, and I know it goes back to the simpleton mindset, but it really does just come down to having a structure and stability. Whether it's lifestyle, if someone were smoking. And I mean, at the end of the day, we don't truly know what that could be doing to our body. And, you get your one swing, make the most out of it.
There's a good saying when it comes to financing. It was fast money comes with slow problems.
Yeah.
I love that saying because if you pretty much any of the instances where you might get a whole bunch of money really quick, there's always some kind of downside to that. And then there's the slow money, slow problems kind of thing, where if you have those like long-term investments that you put a little bit of money into when you can and they passively grow over time, that appreciation is just phenomenal. Eventually, it's just
once
you don't have the problems anymore.
When you have a good structure and a plan, at that point, people look at savings as paying taxes. When tax season comes, it's like, all right, we're paying. But when you get in the mindset of saving as if you're paying taxes, it just becomes natural today. It becomes part of your weekly and monthly lifestyle. And then before you know it, if you continue that for 10, 15, 20 years, guess what? The lifestyle that you'd want to live in the dream retirement, you're going to achieve that and more.
Yeah. There was have you read the book Richest Man in Babylon?
It's on my bucket list. I've got a Word document of fun reads and books and even, podcasts in itself. But that is one. I'm a big component of Jim Cramer, and actually my business partner got me Warren Buffett at his annual Berkshire Hathaway conference.
Oh, that's cool.
And they had their 60th anniversary, but they had a 50th anniversary book that they had shared during the 50th. But this was the 60th this year, and they didn't think they were going to do that, but they had a 60th edition, and he had gotten that to me, and I've been reading through that. That's been an absolute treat.
What are some of the tips in that one?
Well, just Warren Buffett himself. It was more with background of him with the company and some philosophy talking points, but he's just kind of a ball of knowledge. And, you look at him, he's had his same home in Nebraska for, a long time. Depending on pre-market, he'll get, there's 2 McDonald's sandwiches, but if pre-market's up, he'll get the more expensive one. Pre-market's down, he'll get the cheaper one. And it's just the simpleton mindset. And if you didn't know Warren Buffett, you're like, oh, I bet he's doing all right. But you wouldn't think he'd be a top 10 producing, well, he recently stepped down, but company in the entire world with Berkshire. And it's just, he is the foundational talking point, and it's great to get some insights on him.
I need to look up more of his strategies and stuff. I know I've listened to a little bit. I know he started off with like some railroad stocks.
Yeah, so he even has, those are subsidiaries with him, so he's still in the railroads. But the one thing that Warren Buffett that I resonate with the most in investing, and this can even go with real estate investing, it's just the difference is, you might have tenants as compared to companies and mutual funds. In investing, the greatest asset you can have is emotional discipline.
Yeah.
There are ebbs and flows, and even through housing, but they are completely normal. And on a macroeconomic scale, we like to educate clients on the history of markets because people know about it, but they don't truly know about it. There are bulls and there are bear markets. So bulls, they got the horns, they're going up, and bears moving down. Well, people, with winter, I always say we're currently in a bear market on a weather scale. It's cold, it's frustrating, no one wants to do anything. But what's going to be coming in the forefront next month? Spring and summer. That's a bull market. Pullbacks historically precede gains, but it's completely normal market movements.
Yeah, they go up, they go down. That's what it is.
And that's where, preaching on liquidity. We want all clients to have liquidity when no one else does because it gives you a great opportunity to take your defense to jump into offense for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah. I had a buddy of mine. He got massively lucky. He was investing in like 2006, 2007, and ended up pulling all of his money out of the market because he wanted to buy a real estate property.
Yeah.
That property ended up falling through, so he's just sitting there with all of his cash, and then the 2008 crash happened.
Yeah.
And just everything goes down. He was like, this is great. And then he just shoved all his money back in the market and made a killing.
Yeah.
But it was just pure luck. But that's just that down. Everyone thinks down, oh, that's bad. Well, if you have the liquidity like you're talking about, you can now take advantage of this and make some serious money at the end.
Yeah. So it's all on a holistic talking approach. There's a lot of stuff that we speak on that, let alone I can't render or do for someone, but it's the education talking piece.
Yeah. That education can do a lot for somebody. Because a lot of people come into this knowing absolutely nothing.
And that's, I'm not here. You can know the peak of powers, but you just want to have someone in your corner to, help guide it. I'm assuming, it's what I do. I know a good amount. But for clients, they could come in out knowing absolutely nothing. And I want to help educate. And I say, any question that you have, do not hesitate to reach out. Because this in itself, it's very important. I want to make sure that you know full and through what we're speaking on, because not only it's beneficial for you, but you can also then take this information to spread amongst other people, other individuals. And that's where the true power comes to play.
Yeah. Take that information, bring up your friends, bring up your family, bring up your kids like your dad did to you.
Yeah.
Like it's an untold value in that.
Yeah. And with me, starting my entrepreneurial life and building relationships with people, the value add is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I know there are services that people offer, and I know they do great work. I want people to know about their services.
Exactly.
And that's where the connector lifestyle, I absolutely love it. It's almost like a second job for me. I love building relationships with people first and foremost, but also connecting them with other individuals that I think they could best work with one another.
Same. I love doing that, especially if you're giving them in good hands to someone who's going to do a good job.
Oh,
You
yeah.
You know that.
If you do good work is good work. And I want to make sure that you can get connected with people that could make the most of your work.
It helps everybody out. I love win-win scenarios. But win-win-win scenarios are even better.
Yeah. And it's that I think it just comes down to a moral standpoint. I know it might be cliche and a little cheesy, but at the end of the day, in elementary, they're like, Brenden, you got to live by the golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. That's exactly how I live my life. I want to treat others how I'd want to be treated.
Same. Not out here trying to take advantage of anybody. Just help everyone.
Yeah. It's what makes the world go around.
Is there anything else you want to touch on? You guys have any special programs or offers or deals going on?
So nothing really on a promotional standpoint. It's more just, at the end of the day, I see the work that I do as an extension resource. I'm never assuming anyone needs any help or assistance, but to have the conversation can go a very long way. And, if there's any insight and value that I can add, I'm here to have that conversation, but also build a relationship on top of it.
If someone wants to come in for a consultation, is that free?
Yeah, the conversation itself. I want to know the person itself. We have a philosophy meeting that we run through. It gives background on myself, the firm, and our planning practice. But at the end of the day, the whole purpose of that is, I want to learn more about yourself. And, from referrals, I can learn a little bit more from the nominator. But if someone's coming in and we didn't have the previous introduction, I open the floor to them. Tell me about yourself, your background, what you're currently doing, and, some questions or comments that you might have. So then I can then answer those and then kind of highlight if the work that I could do could be beneficial, what that process would look like. But the open consultation, that's just a good free conversation.
Awesome. Well, hey, if someone wants to reach out to you, how do they find you?
Well, you can reach out to me, let alone on the socials, let alone I always say my phone is always available. So you get to the contacts, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll make sure I get there.
Is it you on Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, so Facebook business page, Facebook page, the Google page, actively working on. I do need to get on that sooner rather than later. Everything on that front. I've got the plugs to the email, the phone number. Do not hesitate. I always just say, as long as you give me a name and some talking points there, that's all I need.
Awesome. Well, I'll put the links in the description for this video. Reach out. Appreciate you coming out, man.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
It was a good time.